It's an apartment that's part of a small hotel
Mhm.
complex, but they just have the one apartment.
Oh, no.
So
Will you be staying with them or will you try to find something else?
Chris is trying to find, download the Meeting Owl app to get started. Are you serious?
You can't make an executive
Can you
decision.
sign it?
So don't, what did you think of all this?
Well, first off,
No, we're not in meeting yet. If we can't talk about quorum.
I checked my email before it came,
Yeah.
so I saw Jeff's print.
Let's see.
That new, because, yeah, it's.
Okay, so Roger, we see you,
Yes,
but you
good evening.
you see this weird thing that says download the Meeting Owl app. Is that
But
what
it's
you see?
working.
We see.
I
you.
see that on like your screen.
All right,
It's actually
In reverse.
-2, Mary
Yeah.
Ann.
it's what?
It's like twisted and backwards. We're looking at it, it reads from right to left backwards.
And it says, but it says download the Meeting
Just
Owl.
download the Meeting Owl app to get started.
But
Huh.
isn't it working because the owl is working?
Yeah.
Is working,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah,
Um,
although it isn't moving around when we talk.
right.
It'd be nice if someone shared all this with you at that time.
We use this more than
I think all you had to do was just click on that icon.
I tried clicking
And
it.
it
Nothing
didn't let you
happened.
log
Yeah.
in.
Well, I can't log in because I don't have an account with them. So let's see. So you all can hear us.
But they can't see
But
any
you-
documents.
Oh, they won't. Well,
well,
only if
Dominic
I'm
can.
sharing them.
Dominic can
Yes.
share them.
Yeah, and Dominic, we're gonna make Dominic
Make Dominic a phone.
a host.
We're having a little technical trouble here, Dominic, so
That's fine, no problem.
See what,
I'm gonna make him a co-host. And let's see, that is right, that's right. I mean, it's mostly working.
it's
Oh,
mostly
here's
working.
Molly. Okay. It says download the Meeting Owl app. Isn't that obnoxious? Have you seen that?
You have meeting?
I mean, do they have apps for, all right.
Yes, I do. I have that on.
I mean, yes, they have apps, but do they have apps on for computers?
No,
No.
no, I have
Okay.
it on my phone.
All right.
You guys have a little distance.
Yeah.
But it's been 2 weeks.
I mean,
I was just saying that, you know, I'm a bit of a pariah still,
Mm.
I think I'm but not like my husband.
You're connected to the owl?
Why does it need to be set up?
I don't know, all
It
of a
doesn't have a
sudden.
name.
Yeah, all of a
What do
sudden.
you think it should be called?
What do you mean? The owl?
Should we
Oh,
call?
it's working now.
Oh, okay.
You fixed it.
You
I
fixed
did.
it, Molly.
Yeah, you
Thank
totally did. I don't trip on that.
Oh.
All right, Molly fixed it.
Good
We don't know
job,
what
Molly.
she did, and she
Hey,
doesn't know what
she
she did.
knows what-
Okay, that she connected to it with the app. Okay, so that's good. All righty. And, all right, good. So now we have Dale and Brad remotely, and the rest of us are here.
Matt is not here tonight, right?
Hmm?
Matt is not. here
Matt's
tonight?
not here, but
Matt's
Dominic
not
is,
here.
and I made Dominic a co-host.
Shall we
Yeah.
end the meeting?
That's.
Brad is not here.
Brad is.
Brad's here online. Okay. Okay, and we
Yeah.
have one guest. Amanda Howard.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I will open the meeting at 7:03. Is there any public comment? Hearing none?
Oh, no, Amanda has her
Oh,
hand.
Amanda?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead, Amanda. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
To turn it on. Hi, thank you. Hi, everyone. I have a
Hello.
couple of quick questions. At the November 14th meeting, I had asked about the OTO geotech report, the change from the 2010 report where they had a gravel base change from 4 inches plus sand and gravel sub base of 6 inches to the gravel base course of 12 inches. I never heard back on that. I'm wondering, did anybody ever check with Fuss and O'Neill about that?
I know that we had asked the question. I'll follow up again if that answer didn't make it to you, Amanda.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The other one is kind of a clarification question. Andrea Bono Bunker had asked a question, I think at that same meeting, regarding time allotted for value engineering during the 4.5-month construction documents timeline. And the answer was no. Now that the timeline has been compressed, I'm wondering, where does value engineering fit in? And whose responsibility is that anyway? The OPMs, the commissioning agent? Who? If you can answer that, I'd be really thankful. Thanks.
So as I understand it, yes, the schedule has been compressed, and value engineering, if required, is basically going to roll into the CD effort. And primarily that is the architect's responsibility in conjunction with consultants. I don't know the fine details about percentages and responsibility, but that's kind of my high level response to that, Amanda.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
You're doing it, good. You do whatever you want. There you go.
Okay, we're just moving you around so we can hear you better. Were those all your questions, Amanda? I see you went back to muting, so I'm assuming yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? All right, moving on. Reviewing the minutes from the previous meetings. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from December 19th?
I only sent them out today. Did people have time to review them?
Yes.
I rely on you.
No,
No,
To catch
no,
all my,
I didn't,
yeah,
you said you sent
I
out,
sent them out,
This
one day.
afternoon. Okay, so let's postpone that. I did put the documents up on our website that you had asked for.
Thank you.
Yep. So we'll put that for our next meeting. All right, let's jump into the cost estimate. Take it away, Dominic.
Great. Thank you, Elaine. Let me just share my screen here.
Is this loud enough?
Yeah.
sorry.
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
It's not coming out of here.
Oh.
It's coming out of your computer.
Your computer. Can you turn your volume up?
We're having a little technical difficulties here.
Dominic, you're gonna need to make it bigger for
Oh,
people
we
to
have
read
it,
it.
we have it. We did it
That's-
here.
That's better. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, which
Hey,
one?
Dominic, before you get into this, and Neil, I have a question. So have you taken these numbers and have you put that back into a TPC form to find out how much we're more over budget?
Yeah, so I ran some quick numbers. You'll have to forgive me. We just got this at 5 o'clock, so the numbers are still a little bit raw. But based on where we were before at SD, we were projecting a budget of about around 8.4 million and change. And that was based on a $6.3 million number for construction. So if we increase, we're up 200,000 to 300,000 construction numbers from where we were before. And if you add to that the well cost, the redesign for schematic design, the ad service for added geotech and whatnot, that's probably another, and the cost of the well installation, you're probably looking at another 350,000 north of there. So my best guess is where we are right now is somewhere between 8.8 and 8.9 million total project. And again, that's a raw number. I'd like to have an opportunity to conclude our conversation tonight, and then do a proper budget update with some time to absorb the numbers and see where we land. But that's what we're looking at.
So you're saying we're really 400 to 500,000 over budget?
Yeah, I think we're close to that, because what we're seeing, the numbers that you're seeing here now are just for construction. And again, I haven't really had an opportunity to dig into it, but Dominic, maybe you can clarify. I'm assuming that this doesn't have the cost of the well in it,
That's correct.
right? So that's 100 grand, round numbers, 75 to 100 if you want to range. And then it doesn't have design cost or any of the soft costs associated with the project. So the rest of the things that I've identified are outside of this number and were not anticipated when we updated the budget at the conclusion of schematic design. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you. Any more questions before we go on?
I have a question. So Dominic, in the email you sent, and
Mhm.
maybe everybody else knows what this means, but I don't.
Mhm.
You wrote, delta to budget, and it's $285,000. It's almost $286,000, 4.4%. That's in that email that you sent.
Yes.
What is delta to budget? What does that mean? Because that's not a term I've seen.
Change.
Right.
Change? Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, all right.
That would, I believe it was this 285. So that
Okay,
coming out of the revised SD estimate,
okay,
we held
all right,
a construction cost of 6,200,000,
right,
and then the numbers that we have today, the difference between the two, we're
Okay.
looking at 285,900, so $286,000
yeah,
over.
yes,
Exactly.
yes, yes, now I totally get it, yeah.
Yeah,
And
sorry, Marianne. I was
That's
definitely
okay.
trying to get that to you as quick as possible. Apologies again to everybody for not getting it to you earlier. I know everybody was keen to get those numbers. We unfortunately couldn't get a meeting with our cost estimator again to reconcile until earlier today. So we were trying to get this out as quick as possible. So again,
So
this,
Neil,
Wait a minute, we have another question here.
Sure.
so Neil, one of the big things though, I see, even before we get into the pieces parts, they've taken contingency from 10% to 5%, and they've taken escalation from 6 to 2.5.
So we would
That okay?
expect, I would expect to see a reduction in design contingency, because the documents are that much further developed than where we were at SD. So I
Great.
think that reduction is appropriate. I think that by virtue of the fact that we're closer to the midpoint of construction, in that we're further along in design, a reduction in escalation is also appropriate. The 5 and 2.5% are pretty typical for any job that is, 6 months and at a completed DD state of documents. So I think I'm on board with those changes. But you'll note that the construction line items above, the direct cost went up by, 500,000 round numbers, 560,000 round numbers, and we only gave back about 280,000 through contingency and escalation. So what that should tell the committee is that the cost of construction is outpacing escalation at this point in time. So the longer it takes us to get to bid, the higher that $5.2 million number is really going to be. That's what we're trying to forecast.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
thank you. All right, Dominic.
All right. Thanks, Neil. That was helpful. Neil really kind of went through and passed out this front end of this document, giving you general conditions, general requirements, bond insurance, building permits, fees, as he mentioned, have all gone up by these numbers. So just to quickly orientate yourself to this document, this center column here is the revised SD estimate. And then this column here is the DD estimate that we have to date. And then the delta is the difference between the two. I highlighted in red what is an overage, so a kind of an increase in cost. The ones that are not in red are reductions. So we saw savings, let's say. So again, overall, comparing DD to our budget at SD, we're looking at $285,000 or $286,000 dollars. Square foot cost has gone up a little bit, $52 per square foot, alluding to Neil's construction cost increase. Then the rest of the document breaks down the project by division, and this is what we looked at in previous phases. So just running down the list, we don't have any existing conditions currently on this project. Moving to concrete, we saw some savings there. That number, I would say, came down because we got more detail from structural engineer and saw general savings in the scope of work as the engineering component for the slab and foundation walls was dialed in a little more. Masonry we don't have on the job. Miss metals, we do have some structural metal elements that were accounted for and were, in schematic, were a little bit more high level, so we saw some savings there. Then moving on to Division 6, which is a lot of your woods. On the job, the rough carpentry, we attribute this increase here, the 58,000, to more detail to structural elements. There's more reinforcing that was detailed in. We also were looking to simplify the roof eave detailing and make a better performing roof with regards to roof insulation by using glue lams throughout the project. In SD, we had the building split into LVL structure and 2x12s actually, and it was complicating the roof edge condition. So that was a decision made really to get a better performing envelope. So we saw a slight increase there, that 58,000. Exterior finish carpentry has come down, just as we've really locked in the detailing.
Question?
Yep.
I have a question. You've got a lot of furring on the outside of this building for that slate.
Yep.
What, is that rough carpentry or is that exterior finished carpentry?
Rough.
Yeah, it would be rough, but that detail didn't change from SD. We consulted with Vermont Slate, who we've used on a bunch of our projects. This is how we've detailed the substructure to mount the slate siding.
My
there
question
is a-
was.
I just put the library up. I just put the library up.
Upper exterior. I didn't hear the answer. You said it was rough. It's rough?
Yes, it's rough.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep. There is an alternative way to detail the slate, which we went back to Vermont Slate, who is our consultant in a sense. We've used them to help with design, and we've sourced them for the slate on a bunch of our libraries. There is a hook detail, which is a variation to the way that we've detailed it, but it's a small exposed metal hook that the slate tiles hang onto, the shingles hang on, and that is a custom piece that would add more cost. So we feel this is the most cost-effective way to detail the slate, even though we do have a bunch of nailers, the 2x, as part of the rough carpentry.
And Dominic, do we think that this is the most economical siding option that is available to the building?
I think it was a decision between this and hardy plank was nearly on par. And that was at the end of SD, I believe, where we had an add alt for the two choices. And I don't have that in front of me now. I'm just trying to see what the adult deduct
Dominic,
was.
I don't mean to derail the conversation. I appreciate what was there was slate.
Yep.
And I'm having a hard time believing that hardy plank, without all of the furring direct applied to a plywood exterior, is more expensive or equal to cost than as slate.
Right.
But we'll save that for another day.
Yep.
Let's keep moving.
Yep, sounds good. I will get into that though. I believe there was a minimal markup, if I remember correctly. And again, we'll get to those numbers later.
Yeah.
And I believe there's an easier, more cost-effective way to install that slate than all that furring. So we can get into that later some other day, which may help with that number, but it isn't gonna be $400,000 savings.
No, it will not. The choice to have slate 2 was a maintenance decision too, right? Like,
Yep, understood.
yep, 50-year product plus and no maintenance basically in comparison to other choices. Exterior finish carpentry came down. Interior architectural woodwork went up. And I went through this scope meticulously. I feel like one of the components is the library of things has, I think it's near $30,000, something like that. So it's something that I didn't, Marianne, put into our VE list because at this level, we want to keep the function of the library of things, and we've detailed it as a wood veneer system with adjustable shelves. I think it's something that we can investigate and see some savings. So that's something I'm kind of projecting into CDs, where we might be able to take some of this 45,000 down. So, but within that, the DD set was probably more detailed than what we usually include, and it had the kitchenette, the circulation desk, the self-checkout, and there's a bunch of components there, some countertops throughout the library. So that's really what that number is. So moving on, then we've got thermal moisture protection. Roofing and flashing went up by a little bit. as I understand it, the DD set again was a bit more meticulous than what we usually do, because we have our roofing consultant on board, and I think just capturing that scope at this level, compared to the SD set, we saw some increase there. And the concrete faced insulation, between the two, SD and DD, there was a slight increase in square footages, so we saw a slight increase there.
There's an increase in square footages, even though the building's smaller.
Well, from the SD set, the building size didn't change. I think it has to do with some of the grading around the building, is revealing some additional scope. That's my understanding. I've got this was a hard number from our cost estimator. So I will ask that question again. That was my understanding of this one. So the cost per square foot didn't go up. It definitely was a scope question. So I'll revisit that one.
Thank you.
Yep. And then the slate siding comparison, in the SD redesign, we had hardy plank, and the add alt for slate we went with, and so we held on to that. We actually saw some savings there for the slate siding. Moving on to openings, not a lot of movement there, kind of small numbers really, to be expected, I guess, as you add more detail to the project. So we didn't, this didn't seem like a lot of unforeseen movement. The gypsum wallboard system is a slight increase. This is an item that I'd like to revisit in value engineering. We typically specify level 5 finish, which comes at a premium, and we can easily specify level 4, and I think that would be appropriate, and we would see some savings there. We can visit that in the next document. Tile.
Yeah, friggin' flat. Like a friggin' surgeon.
It's always an interesting conversation for public work, because it is often a fight during construction to get perfect level 5. Level 5 is pristine level flat. You do not see any variation. It's museum quality drywall and paint. Level 4 is,
You don't need that.
yeah, it's something we like to hold on to. It depends on the expanse of drywall, and if it has sun grazing on it, it is important to have as good a finish as you can. I think in our case, and the walls that might see sunlight, it's not a large expanse. I think we could definitely live with level 4.
What's the difference between level 4 and level 3?
Oh,
I know.
not that.
It allows the
Where are we gonna have these walls? So they're
gonna be in the meeting room.
yeah.
And then
We also have acoustic drywall on a lot of these larger expanses, so it actually is broken up somewhat.
and is this gypsum wallboard, is the acoustic wallboard someplace else, or is that part of this?
It is a part of this number as well. Yeah.
This, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, and so that would be wallboard that's up high, the gypsum,
Right.
The acoustic
Right.
is correct. That's
yeah,
right.
the acoustic panels would be up
Yeah.
high, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I wouldn't recommend going to 3, Elaine. It's good to shoot for 4 and then get 3.5 in certain areas. The public work, it depends on your subcontractor. So you pick and choose your battles, and you start hard and you see where you end up as things move along. So Tile, again, is this small amount of scope here. We have this as an adult in this cost estimate, and it's zeroed out if we were to replace tile with resilient flooring in the lobby and circulation space. So we're reluctant to make that change at this point, but just to kind of make that point. Resilient flooring, again, you know, it's small kind of shifts in numbers here. So none of this really jumped out at us. Signage, I believe that because of the inclusion of specifications here, we just saw more clarity to what we want on this project, and there you see a little bit of a cost increase compared to SD where we didn't have that spec.
Yeah, it's double. So can I go back to the drywall? So
Yeah.
what would we have in our homes? Like,
I have level 1, I think.
No, I wouldn't say you do. Level 1, you would see.
I might have
I'm
level
pretty sure
one.
I have level 1.
But like, what would we have in our homes? 3? Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Um,
Okay, I just want to sort of have it.
In my
Uh,
mind.
Right.
Yeah.
just, no
Marianne,
overlap.
I have a very good document that spells them all out, and I don't have them fresh. Off the top of my
That's
head.
okay, that's all right.
Yeah,
We-
but
we
it's
know,
good. kind of-
Yeah,
You go to sleep, you can read it.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
also explaining how it's finished. When you mud between the panels, level 5, you're basically covering the full extent of drywall with mud again, right, with spackle. And then level 4, you don't have to do the full panel, you just do joints and feather out, you know, and so you start, so all of that you would see under the paint if you have streaming light coming, you know, grazing light across a vast expanse. So it's the best way, I guess I can explain it at a high level. So, that's kind of where we were at with the architectural side of things, moving then into
May I ask-
MEPs. Yeah.
Why the signage doubled in price?
I didn't go through this one. I saw other items as, you know, more focused, so I can do that for you. My sense is because it was really hinging on the specifications, and so we used our office boilerplate specifications for this job. Through CDs, we really kind of get into the nitty-gritty. So at DD, we definitely want to hold scope. I can scrutinize that some more, Penny.
So Dominic, the only detail that's provided in the estimate is there are 12-inch brushed stainless steel letters, 23 each at $250 a piece for $5,800.
Yep, so that
And
would
then
be at entry.
Interior and exterior signage at a lump sum for $2,000 a piece. So every door has to have a sign next to it by code.
Yep.
And I would assume the exterior signage to be some sort of wayfinding or otherwise on the building
That's right.
to indicate the entrance.
Yep.
That's
That's
it.
where the stainless steel signs would have been.
Quick $10,000.
Yeah.
Right, and so we can,
I can make signs.
yes, you can. But anyway, so in design development, we can talk about what kind of sign we want, right? Is that what's next, or in CD? We'll have a meeting where we talk about what kind of sign we want.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Then going through, we saw some reduction in plumbing. I think the caveat with plumbing is the next step of coordination with the well and some of the requirements that we need in the plumbing room for filtration. And so that number will get ironed out more through CDs. That was kind of a caveat point to the plumbing number being a little low, or at least seeing savings at this point in comparison. So the HVAC was up, and our MEP engineers had some questions. So we went through today with our cost estimator to really understand why these numbers went up. And the best explanation that we got today was that at the SD set, because the building at redesign, the building was reduced in size, and therefore the estimator reduced the CFM requirements of some of the equipment, and that was a little preemptive. So now that we're in DD, our engineer is still holding on to the same equipment we had at the first SD set, and therefore we're seeing this price difference. So I need to now go back to our mechanical engineer and just go through that. We haven't had a chance to do that. This is kind of hot off the press from this morning. But our engineers were scrutinizing this number. It did come down some from what we saw before our meeting today. So we feel like this $75,000 ad right now is a pretty safe number. But again, I think I want to work with our mechanical engineer just to make sure that, you know, everything is accounted for correctly. So electrical went up, which I think had to do with scope, adding in the lighting scope was included now. We just saw general you know, increases here, which was a little bit tough to swallow, but that's kind of where we're at, unfortunately, with the electrical scope. Again, we had a bunch of questions from our electrical engineer. I want to go back to them again after my meeting today with a cost estimator. So I'm not sure how much of this number we're going to see, you know, movement in, but you know, it's gone up, which was tough.
Jeff has a
A
question.
couple questions.
Yeah.
So you're saying the 120,000 is because of light fixtures?
No, that was one element that increased this number, that we added more scope with that. But yeah, I can get some more definitive specifics on that to you.
Well, where are the solar panels in this estimate?
That is in electrical as well. So that would also contribute.
Well, did they go up? So maybe it didn't contribute.
I missed that last comment, sorry.
So do you have a breakdown of what's in the electrical?
Yeah.
Yes. $152,000 for PV. And that's based on 47 kilowatts.
Which we
What
got
was-
straight from our consultant. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
This number here.
Okay.
Site lighting was also a big number. We had additional pole lights in the entry drive and parking lot. We have the bollards that go around the building as a code requirement. We did confirm though with our code consultant, that we do not need light poles continuing along the entry drive. We do in the parking lot. So there's a VE item where we're looking to save some money by reducing that scope. So yeah, PV definitely has a big contributor as well.
The PV cost has actually come down from where we had it in schematic by about 20 grand.
And I think we reduced some of the panels too, Neil. There was a question at the last meeting as to whether we meet net zero, and we do. So we're as efficient as we can be. Within 50 megawatts per year. So we have 50 megawatts per hour a year over what the building requires as production. So
Dominic, one thing I'm seeing is there's no bidirectional antenna. What's
Yep.
the purpose for leaving that out?
let me ask. I agree. You know, I'm not sure whether it's the size of the building, but
Isn't it a code requirement?
that's as I understand it. Yeah, that could be a miss. So I'll ask that question. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah.
Bidirectional antenna.
For what? Notify safety.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay, let's continue.
And then, so earthwork, we were hoping to see a little more savings here. The intent for moving the project closer to Leverett Road was to reduce some of this work. I think as the stormwater system and grading flushed out, we needed, you know, the basins to really alleviate the stormwater design, so that we wouldn't use below grade Caltech system. I think, you know, it's a fine balance there. So we did see minor savings. Initially, we had hoped that these numbers would be a little work in our favor a little more. Pavement curbing and edging was much higher. The cost estimator was holding granite curbing throughout the project. So this is a value engineering item. So we feel like, you know, we can do much better with this 81,000. Site improvements is general scope that's been included now from Stimson and landscape. As we see more detail, you know, we see granite bench, that's a small number, a seat wall, you know, stone pavers, a retaining wall, which is a large ticket item that had to do with the turnaround, the parking lot turnaround being so close to the property line, and the fact that we needed to work, the stormwater had to work there. So this is another line item for value engineering.
Didn't Matt say that he was going to look at reducing the number of parking spots?
Yep.
In our December meeting, our 19th meeting.
We have
and
that.
then
We have that as a value engineering item.
we wouldn't need the retaining wall?
That's correct. So we're looking at regrading that section of the site, remove the retaining wall. There's also a guardrail that we would omit as well, because there wouldn't be the drop off. So there's a few elements there: reduction of asphalt, no retaining wall, no guardrail. We're looking, that's one of our bigger VE ticket items. So again, with the, you know, the exterior improvement, that's a big number there, the site improvements that we think we can reduce considerably. We saw a slight reduction in landscaping, and utilities is an increase that we still are holding on to the duct bank to bring in electrical and telecom, to go from Leverett Road to the transformer pad. We have an adult to go to overhead poles. So that would see a reduction in this number.
How much of a reduction would the overhead poles?
So we have that. as, it's $73,000. The caveat with this number is that there's going to be a markup from the utility company. So currently we have a job number in with them to just get electrical to the property line, and then our project is going to run the duct bank into the property. Whereas if we now go to overhead, they actually take over the installation of the overhead poles into the site. And so there's a markup that we would see from them for that. And that I haven't been able to get to you yet. Our electrical engineers is asking that question. So this 73 number, it wouldn't be a true swap for
You can probably figure it'll be between $7,000 to $10,000 a pole coming into the site. And
How many poles?
I don't have an appreciation for how far apart they can space them. But you're talking about 500 feet of duct bank, right?
Yeah, something like that.
499 feet of
Yep.
primary duct bank. So it's, you're probably gonna have at least 5 poles.
Yeah.
Or 4 anyway. So you're probably gonna you might save half. And then you'll have to look at the poles for the rest of your lives.
But wait a minute, we're not 500 feet from the road.
Just going
Aren't we
to that.
like, aren't we
Oh,
now?
that's utility.
Feet, 250 feet from the road?
Well, just keep in mind, I think the electrical room, right, if I'm not mistaken, the electrical room is at the far end of the building.
Right.
Yeah.
Relative to Leverett Road, right? It's in the back left corner.
Yep.
So you've got to go the full length of the building and then all the way down the driveway.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I would say that could be a pretty good number.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right,
So yeah, we have to.
Hey, Dominic, can you go to the estimate, division 33, page 21?
you say page 21?
That's it.
So what's water well, site well? What are those numbers?
I have to get clarification on that. I think that I'm not sure if that is some component that we're holding within the building for that. Or it could actually be the site well, which I didn't think. We don't actually have outlined.
Dominic, I would venture to gain that he's carrying $30,000 to get the domestic water from the wellhead to the building.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a site cost. It would not be a plumber's cost until it gets to within 10 feet of the foundation wall. Then
Right.
the plumber takes it over and runs it into the building. There's no other domestic water under utilities in Division 33 other than that. So I don't
Yeah.
think that's the cost of the well. I
No.
think that's the cost of the pipe between the wellhead and the building,
Yep.
trenching and backfill included.
Yep.
Not sure what the next line is though. The fire and gate valve. 2-inch main and the fire gate valve. I don't know what that is.
No. I'll get that back. I'll get an answer for you on those two.
Is there a conversation that we need to?
Well, I was noticing on that same page, that, well, the 2-inch diameter water main, 207 linear feet. So would that be the pipe coming from the well to the building?
Yeah, it could be.
Yep.
I don't think he means ductile iron, though. I'm assuming he means that that's, most likely malleable copper.
Yeah, let me get back to you on these three then. So that was the last of the divisions, bringing a direct cost difference of $416,000. But when you again reevaluate that with the total cost here, we're seeing 285,000 overage. So we then went and had a look at what we could value engineer. Again, we are currently holding this 73,000 for to swap from.
Make that a little bigger if you could, please.
Sure. To go from duct bank to overhead poles. As Neil alluded to, there's going to be an add cost here for the utility back charge. So I'm not sure what that will be and how that will play out with this 73,000.
But Dominic, just to clarify,
Yeah.
Bala or your electrician, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it is.
Bala,
They're,
yeah.
they're chasing down the cost
Yes.
with the utility, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then remove one parking stall and some concrete paving. We had discussed last week that there is not a need to, I'm just getting a layout here of materials. There is not a need to have concrete pathway. It's a convenience to have that concrete pathway go all the way to this last parking stall. You still meet ADA by allowing patrons to travel along this driveway. So we have one extra parking lot. The intent would be to remove this and then allow this turn to shift up and allow us, it's a 30-inch grade difference between the asphalt parking turn and this grade here at the site boundary. It would allow us to delete this retaining wall, the guardrail, and some reductions in asphalt. And we talked to our cost estimate about that, and we would see about $116,000 savings there. Then we also wanted to replace the granite curbing with bit berm or Cape Cod edging, which we would see $30,000 savings.
Is that everywhere or is that?
No, that would just be, so the reason initially we did not have any curbing along this edge here, but the stormwater is actually relying on that edge to help sheet water back to the drainage elements that are picking that up. So we currently own scope for granite all the way along here, and we could easily do that with the Cape Cod berm. The caveat with that is snow plows may damage it more easily.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
snow plows will damage it.
I didn't want to say it like that.
They will not, they won't, they're gonna be careful, and those Cape Cod berms are all over. I've been driving around noticing that.
Over them?
They're in Hadley, they're in Amherst, yeah,
And they're all damaged.
I haven't seen any damage.
So they get damaged.
Okay, yeah.
We'll fix them.
We'll fix them, okay. So this, okay, good, so there.
Yep.
It's small saving.
It's, well, it's not a small saving.
It's 33.
It's 33,000.
Well,
And that's for all of it or just some of it, Dominic?
For some of it. So we are holding granite at the drop off. So it starts here where my cursor is, and it holds that edge to here. Let's see.
Where's your,
But that whole curve along the eastern side, you're now
Raised curve.
changing. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we could, I'm going to talk to Stimson and make sure, you know, and just see, can we pull out even more, actually, just looking at this again, because we own it over here. And my sense is now that we don't have the concrete path, we can just go Cape Cod berm all the way across here and just hold it. I would want it at the ADA spots and, you know, the drop off. You would want to hold that line across there.
Okay.
Yep. The next I put in here, and it's a question. I put this in because it was mentioned that the landscape planting scheme may be considered for an ad alt. And I know we've just put in our NOI submission with, you know, all the inclusive scope of shrubs and trees. And as an ad alt, you would be accounting for that scope in a different way. So we currently have 65 trees at $117,000. Shrubs is not as high a number, obviously, but it's a question for our team, for Fuss and O'Neill. Penny, I don't know if you have any, you know, sense of the potential for this, and, you know, Conservation Commission. So I did not account for this number. I just put it in here. I want to work with my consultants on the potential for this. Maybe we take some trees out, you know, or look at this in a certain way that we could value engineer the front end cost to the project. So just moving along, delete the entry porch wood slat bench. It's a nice feature that we detailed and we have as part of the project. I think it's something we could account for in a different way. You know, $9,000 of a nice wood slat bench at the entry porch. I figured we can look at that in a different way. So we put that up as a VE item. The next item is remove the vestibule wood. So we have the vestibule lined with maple shiplap siding, so that there's a language of outside wood coming into the building. We'd like to hold the wood ceiling because there's a direct translation of the porch entry roof coming into the vestibule. But we thought, you know, we could do simple drywall in the vestibule walls. We would have some fire panels. You know, those walls are not going to be clean. Oh, totally clean.
Dominic, we have been offline for the last 5 to 10 minutes.
2 minutes.
We were talking about trees.
We were talking, you
Okay.
just started talking about
Yeah.
trees and we lost you.
Okay.
Yep, sorry for going on. I saw your camera go off, and I'm finished. I raced through. No,
You're done now.
Yeah, no. So back to the trees. I just wanted to. I put this item in here because there was discussion about the potential for some of the landscape elements to be an ad alternate. The trees, we currently have 65 of them. And again, you know, this is a very sensitive part of the project because we need what we have for the NOI and for Conservation Commission approval. So yeah, I've got that number in here because potentially we could account for some of that scope differently, and whether they're, you know, it's something that I have to talk to with my consultants with Fuss and O'Neill, and understand how an adult of some of the vegetated scope might affect the NOI or, you know, how that could even work. But I thought it was definitely discussed as a potential for the project. So I'm not accounting for this number. I just wanted to highlight that we have some tree scope that we might be able to work with somehow in a value engineering or an ad alternate, I should say, setup.
Okay.
Penny, I don't know if you had heard all that before, you know, as I was talking earlier, whether you wanted to add anything. Otherwise, it's a conversation I want to have with April and Fuss and O'Neill for sure, and then see what our options are.
I would only add that to meet the conditions of the notice, to meet the conditions of the order of conditions,
Yeah.
all work has to be completed within 3 years.
Oh.
So it is possible to spread that out over time and perhaps find some savings
3 years from completion.
from the time that the order of conditions is issued.
Right.
So 3.
It's really more like 2 years after, so it's really more like 2 years, yes.
Right, and I don't think that the NOI, and I can't pull it up because we're using my computer for this, meeting, but I don't think the NOI calls for 65 trees.
No, I think it's
Yeah.
fewer, but
Yeah.
there are many shrubs as
Right,
well.
there-
The
right.
total of woody material is greater than 65.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Yes. Okay.
Yep. This was revised slightly to what you all saw last time. And again, there was a question about solar gain for the PV panels. So there've been some slight adjustments to really ensure that the photovoltaic cells panels see as much sun as they can with this scheme. So that there is potential then for that number. Again, we will continue that conversation. It's not accounted for in my VE sum right now, but I think we could potentially incorporate some of that. I then went on, we included a wood slat bench at the entry porch. I think that's something that we can remove for $9,800 and think of an alternative. And Marianne, we can work together. I know there is a need for seating for patrons at entry, so we'll revisit that. I think it's something we can pull for now. Remove the vestibule wood treatment of the walls. The side walls we currently specified as maple shiplap siding, so that there's a continuation of the wood language on the exterior coming into the building. We could finish that with drywall. We will have some devices on those walls anyway, so I think it's acceptable to have drywall finished walls in there. We'd see $5,000 savings. We talked about this earlier. There's a premium to have level 5 finish. We could, if we go to level 4, we can see a direct $15,000 savings. So we thought that would be a quick item that we could include.
And then we have that same $15,000 if we went to level 3.
That's a good question. I would say not, but then you start getting free drywall. But no, I can investigate that. I wouldn't recommend going to level 3. We could in back of house spaces, storage rooms, you know, mechanical rooms. We typically drop the standard of drywall for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is his hand raised?
Oh yeah. Sorry, Dale.
Yeah,
Are you
no,
muted?
yeah, no, I just want to make a comment. Please, no more talk about level 3 drywall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're back
We'll
on
back
mute,
to-
Dale. Sorry, but yeah,
Just stop it.
yeah. It means you're
Okay.
probably getting level 2 or 1. Yeah. So the next item is delete 5 side light poles. I brushed on this. I think, you know, $18,000 is a decent number that we should, you know, investigate, and I think it's appropriate here. So we wanted to include that as a value engineering item. And then we have the condensing units for the HVAC equipment to the south of the building, outside of the meeting room. And initially we were burying the refrigerant lines in a conduit below grade, entering the building below slab that way. But we talked with Barlow, our mechanical engineers, and we can run that along the wall on the south of the building. So we would see savings there, not to go below grade, $42,000. So this number, this 169, is a total of these value engineering items, but you know, I think it's taking into account this $73,000 without accounting for the utility back charge. So from Neil's experience, you know, we may be only seeing 40 to or 20 to 40,000 of this. It depends on what the back charge is in the end. And with that, rolling that back in, you know, our DD cost is 6,485,000. With the value engineering, we could drop it down to 6,316,000. So it's still high. And you know, it's around 4% higher than our budget at the moment. So are there some other things? You know, I think these numbers could potentially tweak a little bit. There's some questions that were raised today that might be able to you know, reduce some of these numbers, but we feel that, you know, going into CDs, that at this number, we're hoping that this, you know, we could still get approval to go into CDs, and wanted to get your take on your sense of this 6,300,000 number.
So we have to make them. I think we should accept the VE items except for
The poles,
because we don't know the number,
right,
and the trees because we don't know the number.
right.
So we have to make a motion to do this. or
But
how
the
we do
trees
this?
aren't in the BE. But I think we could, somebody could make a motion
Somebody could make
to
a
accept the
motion.
BE.
Okay.
Um,
I make a motion to accept the VEs. Knowing that we don't have a number yet for the pole and the trees.
but the trees aren't part of the
in
BE. Okay, all right.
Second the motion.
Okay, so it was
So,
Jeff and Stephen seconded.
so does this mean we're accepting the price as given if we remove those things? I'm not quite sure what. And are we close enough?
Oh, no, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. So I'm unclear what the goal of the vote is.
The goal of the vote is to accept these changes, this list.
Okay, but we're not saying we accept the price tag.
It might not be all of it,
Okay.
but we'll at least accept
I
these.
see, okay.
Okay. Any more discussion? Anyone else on the committee there? I don't see everyone who's,
How do I do that? There we go.
who do we have? Dale? Do we have?
Brad, are
Brad?
you still there?
Brad, are you still there?
Uh,
Dan?
Brad is gone, okay.
Brad is gone. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So are we ready to vote? All right, roll call vote on accepting this DDVE list as written, except for the number for the overhead electrical pole and alt. Antonellis,
Antonellis, aye.
Dalmas,
Dallas, aye.
Poole,
Cool, aye.
Jakes,
I,
Moss, Quackenbush, Paleo, aye. Okay, we have accepted these changes.
So
Thank you.
now I have a question, Dominic, when we go back to Stimson's site improvements,
Mm,
so it was a list of items, and I believe it was 10 granite benches and something else. There was some other, there were 10 reclaimed granite benches.
yeah.
At $450 each, and for a total of $4,500. And
Mhm.
so I think we can, and then the concrete seat wall.
What is it? What is it?
What's a concrete seat wall?
And where would it be?
And where would it be? And so right there is 16,500.
So we have one of those here. We have some here. These granite seat walls. Let me just check that
Yeah.
note. GB.
Granite, say that again, what they are? Where
Are they granite or are they concrete?
Concrete, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the note. GB monolithic granite bench, it's called here, actually.
Very,
Solid.
and blunt.
Yeah, so, and we have it detailed.
And in any case, I think those things sound lovely.
Yep.
But we should just say that we're not gonna do those, and then we can, sort of collect benches, one or two at a time.
Mhm.
Or have
You
people
know,
donate them.
Or have people donate benches. And, because I don't think those are gonna be an eligible cost, from the MBLC, and,
we don't
So-
need monolithic.
and
Do we want to also get rid of the paving that's under the benches?
is there paving under the benches?
Yeah, go back to the site.
Take a
plan.
look at the
Okay.
site, yeah.
Well, this
Uh,
is adjacent, I think. You're talking about these pavers here.
Well, I'll go back to the site plan. There's benches in the, I call it the back.
Oh, whoops, wrong plan. Sorry.
So what they'll be,
Yeah. So this is
what-
crushed stone. We have pavers here, which I think is appropriate for the main entry and exit.
what's around the benches?
What's around those granite benches?
Yeah,
That's
it looks like crushed stone to me.
Yeah, so
Need
we
it.
can just have that be grass.
Yep, that can be grass.
In other words, that whole scope.
Right,
All those
You're,
granite
re-
benches.
you're really saying like all of that gone.
Yep,
In-
right,
that goes,
like that, and on the other
Yep.
side like it,
yeah.
yeah.
And where are the other ones?
There's another one here. Down low.
Why do we need one down there? Out
It's
of
really
where?
a seating element for patrons as they wait to be picked up. Can't have enough site seating. But it's not that you're not going to have it, right? You're looking to include it.
Or tough.
We're tough, we'll stand. What?
I mean, we should have a bench someplace for people who.
Yeah, but it doesn't
But
have
we're
to
gonna have
be-
another bench.
right,
Yeah,
yes.
10 feet away from there eventually.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Dominic, I have a code question. That walkway around the building,
Yep,
which is called labeled C,
yep,
which is concrete.
yep.
I mean, just aesthetically, in my mind, stone dust would look nice there.
Yep.
But does that meet ADA?
It does. It's
It
a
does?
maintenance. You can spec it to have the right compaction, and that way you can actually, on a wheelchair, it meets code. We've done that before. I think the consideration here for concrete is maintenance. If you were shoveling it, you start to, potentially skim material off, and there'd just be a bigger maintenance consideration with that. through the winter. So initially, I think that was the high level thinking there to go with concrete. I agree, crushed stone's nicer.
No, lately.
Okay, I have a question.
Right.
So, so there's we're calling it the back of the building. And there's
sir.
the exit from the lobby.
Yeah.
And then to the left of it,
Yeah.
is there a door there in the meeting room?
Yep.
Yeah.
So there are two exterior doors from the meeting room.
Yes.
No, one
that's right.
from the, oh, yeah,
the one on the
you're
left.
right.
That's,
Yeah.
Oh, the one at the back, yeah.
Are there two exterior doors from the meeting room?
I thought there
Yes.
was only one.
And why are there two exterior doors from the meeting room?
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there.
Yep. These two here.
Do we have to have that one?
I believe we do because of the sliding door to meet egress.
See,
49 if the door is closed.
well, 49, you're allowed one door, 50, you bump up to two.
Yeah. I can revisit that. I mean,
Okay,
I believe we have to, yes, and that's why we do, because we would happily omit this southern. I mean, it's nice to have light, although we ended up deleting that transom glass as well anyway, right? This was really also a move to get light in, but we could easily get rid of that if we didn't need it for code, but as I understand it, we do.
If we're using the meeting room for a meeting, isn't that door to the lobby open?
This one
Won't
here.
the lobby always be open?
no,
No.
it
No.
could be it could be closed, you know,
Yep.
say if it was a movie was playing, you'd have it closed.
But it's still a door.
Yeah,
Yes.
So that doesn't meet code that is a door?
No,
I think because it's a sliding door, I have to double check that though, because we do have a sliding door elsewhere. It's just, it might be the capacity of people that puts that restriction, but let me get clarification
All right.
on that.
okay, all right.
if the panic.
Dominic, can you pull up one more view for me?
Yeah.
How many, I'm just curious, how many compressors are on the outside of the building at that end of the building? I want to make sure the committee is aware
Yeah.
of how many sets of vacuum lines and suction lines
Yep.
are going to be on the outside of the building from the compressor into the HVAC units inside.
Yep.
Because that's a big aesthetic change to the outside of the building.
It is, and we are definitely treating that. Well, we see this as the best place for those. Currently is laid out. So Neil is commenting on these condensing units that we need for the mechanical systems. A VE item was to take all this refrigerant lines that were in a duct bank going below grade into the storage room here. We would actually have them all run together along this wall and then enter the electrical room this way. But I think what Neil is really referring to is the fact that we have a bunch of mechanical equipment here. They're going to be on their own concrete pads. And we are still working to really consolidate how they are located and to meet their maintenance clearance requirements because they need certain access to certain sides.
So when you have those, the lower drawing there.
Yeah.
With all the lines.
Yeah, this is diagrammatic too. So
Okay, so where are they all? Are those all really lines that are going to be?
Yes.
Yes.
Where are they
Yeah.
going to be located? Are they going to be on the side of the building?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
my point, Elaine.
Yep.
So there's like, I'm seeing how many of them?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. This is the elevation. And so, but we would cluster them together. So it's not, you would see the lines go up to the eave. We would bring them across, down and into the plenum space over here. Not optimal, but looking at the plan, we don't see a better location for them. They need to be outside. We would prefer here than anywhere, obviously not on the eastern elevation, not on the north, but we also feel like the west elevation is pretty important as well. We could put them here, but
Yeah.
No,
we just
you
feel
know,
like this is
so-
as much of back of house as any
So
condition we have on this project.
can we revisit then? Where
Yep.
was that one part of putting them underground?
It was
Oh.
It
like.
was the last VE item.
Yeah, $42,000.
And can I just say, this is the new technology, right? So we could have a propane tank. Or and I don't know where you put the oil tank, right? Like, so these compressors are beautiful. And yes, they
No,
are,
they're
they're
not.
beautiful. It's new technology.
But they can
It's-
be landscaped around.
Right, they can be landscaped around. I've seen buildings put fencing around them.
Mhm.
Like lattice.
Yeah,
we have
right,
lattice on
yes,
I'm
and
not,
it's-
I'm
yeah.
not so worried about the compressors. I understand that, but
Yeah.
the piping.
Yeah,
The amount of piping that's going up the side of the building.
How many inches wide is it?
Yeah.
Is it? 'Cause I think that'll help. us.
Yeah, that's.
so just to put it into perspective, all of these lines were going to be in an 8-inch pipe below grade. So I think what we would do is try and get them into some sort of exterior conduit that consolidates them.
So it will be one pipe
Yes.
Yeah.
that's going up.
First off, it's not gonna be a pipe.
What is it going to be?
No, it'd be like some sort of plastic housing.
And it's
Yeah.
probably gonna be
Like I have on the
3
front
or
of my
4
house.
covers that go up the side of the building, and the covers are probably gonna be like 6 inches long. This
We
is
can-
not gonna be that bad.
It's not gonna be that bad?
No.
Okay, it looks pretty ugly on
That's
this.
just because
Yeah.
I have it
Raw.
Okay, I
Yes.
just
You
wanna.
can always paint out the covers.
Elaine, I will do my due diligence to get you that information. Now, I totally respect the question, because that's why we put it in the ground, right? We didn't want to do it.
Right.
But yes, I don't think it'll be as much of an eyesore as that
Dominic, I
diagram.
just want to make sure that the committee understands that what they're looking at right now is not what they're gonna get when we open the building.
Right,
Yeah.
right, because we're gonna have all those compressors there, and we're gonna have that, whatever you wanna call it, conduit piping
Yep,
going up. the
refrigerant lines, that's right, yep.
cross.
And we'll paint a vine on,
Can
like a
we-
wheeler will.
Can you provide us with a diagram of what it will look like?
Yes. My sense is,
I mean, they have to be somewhere. So we just, the compressors have to be somewhere.
Yes,
If
I
this
know.
is the new technology that we're using, it's energy efficient, it's fossil fuel free, and it's, it's carbon, whatever, and neutral, and it has to be somewhere, so.
I'm totally guessing on the size of this. My sense is
Yep.
we can do better than what we're looking at here. And
Mhm.
I'm not sure whether what we can do. Well, I'm guessing if they're in a duct bank below grade, they can all be clustered together in some sort of
Will also be-
cover.
There'll
So
be compressor.
And got your, what's it, 3
How do you
compressors?
attach those to the slate, through the slate?
yeah, that's a detailing question that I've been considering. I don't think we go slate. It depends on the attachment. Whether we detail a wood element as we have already on the job. If I go quickly to a section here, we do have, this shiplap cedar, and whether that condition kind of grows down the elevation a little bit so that it gives us something to tie into. and maybe that's, you know, we kind of hold the slate short there, or there's another attachment. I have to look into it, how we can attach it. We may be able to go into the slate or hang it from the eave, or I'm not sure. So
And there'll be an additional horizontal element to that, Dominic, along the ground level, where the vacuum and suction lines come over to each of the individual compressors along the side of the building.
mhm,
Yeah.
coming back.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Can you
so
sketch in the compressors?
Yeah, where are the compressors? Are all the compressors on one side of the door?
Yes, they're
Mhm.
all here. So, I mean, they're going to be, you know, potentially this big. There'll be a cluster of them all right there.
Yeah.
Dominic, are you suggesting, or would you recommend that maybe something is put in there that shields them, fence, something like that,
If
to
that's-
make it a little bit more attractive?
Sure. I think it comes down to how, you know, right now we don't have, sorry, I'm in civil. I just wanted to go to landscape real quick. You know, we don't really have anything in the scope of work as to what's going on here, right? It has been mentioned that this could become something in the future, and whether this is an area for a reading garden, you know, would start to influence how we treat that. If this is not going to be programmed, and the reading garden would be, you know, situated somewhere else, or, you know, how this is being used. If, you know, if you are considering this, sure, we can screen it. I would agree.
I mean, it could be natural. You could do it with a trellis and a vine or something, but
Yeah.
it's not gonna look like that. I just want to make sure that everybody understands. It's not
Yeah.
gonna look like that.
It's zoned within a planting bed, right?
Yep.
So, to Neil's point, you could, you know, I could have Stimson be a little more strategic. I think we'll need a lot of that space though here. So, but again, something that we should consider for sure. But I felt for $40,000, it was worth compromising the aesthetics on this side somewhat. But again, that's your, you know, if you don't feel comfortable with that, we can definitely look at something else here.
Yeah, I think we don't need Stinson to be working on making a trellis and vines and stuff. That's something, I mean, we're Shutesburyans. We can do that on our own.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, it's fine. I appreciate that Neil wants to just make sure that we know.
Yeah, I do
That they're
appreciate
gonna
that.
be someplace, and I think this is just something we're gonna be seeing on buildings, and you know, and so what I've seen on some buildings is there are compressors on every side, and that might be older buildings that they're trying to retrofit. But you know, so I don't know if that's something that has been considered, but, I think sort of the most economical and efficient placement of the compressors is what we want.
So
Yeah,
here's
right.
probably a naive question. Since you're saying that the slate is maybe not penetrable on that side, would we consider having hardy plank on that side only, so that you could put,
I think
What,
we want this
conduit?
right there, because there's condensate.
what?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to my sense is the maintenance.
That's true, okay.
Yeah, for one, and then the introduction of a new material for a small amount.
Doesn't make sense.
Let me investigate first how we will attach that before, you know, there may
Okay.
be a nice solution here that allows you to go in and into, well, around the slate, or there's some way that we can work around an attachment assembly. I'll reach
Dale,
out
you-
to the engineers for that.
Yeah, technically speaking, the attachment issues through hardy plank and slate are the same. They're both, you know, essentially a hard, I won't say masonry, but you know, it's a hard stone-like surface. So you're
Oh,
drilling
okay.
through both in either case. I think the idea of continuing the wood, some type of cedar or whatever for the line hide, which is the term that we use for the covering overall of these pipes, which is, you know, traditionally a vinyl product. And we see these line hides everywhere in all the buildings that we know that have mini splits. It's that vinyl stuff that we see creeping up on the buildings. It's on the fire station, it's on the town hall. I mean, it's everywhere.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
you know, it's part of it.
Yeah.
All right.
So my understanding that, you know, even with these VE items, we're still many hundreds of thousands of dollars off.
For, right.
We're at, so the estimate in August was 6.2 million, and what are we at now?
6.3.
6.3, yep,
So we are only,
100.
Going back
It
to-
depends, sorry, it depends on our utility.
right,
And then, but hopefully that we could do something with the landscape.
right.
Cause are we
Adult.
open to ideas? No? Like
Always.
Dominic, I know this is gonna kill you and it'll be interesting to watch.
Well, let's bring him up if we, Dominic, you want to stop
Can you go
sharing? Oh, go ahead. Okay.
So can you, remember that E detail that you had up there about 5 minutes ago?
Oh, I'm sorry, which detail?
The E detail you had?
Oh, yep.
Yeah. This is Stephen's idea when you go nuts. You go after him first.
Nice.
I've always found that detail right there to be architecturally interesting, but costly. And I'm open to getting rid of that
This
step in
here.
the roof. No,
Yeah.
the roof above the decking.
Oh, this.
That,
Yay.
to me, I see a lot of money sitting right there.
With
So what would you
I think
do?
the roof flashing, like the metal roofing I see would simplify.
Yeah,
Um,
and also just dealing with this additional metal coating and all, and that bending and all that other stuff. Now, I'm not sure that's cost effective, that's all.
Yeah,
That's a way of maybe saving
What's
some money.
the reason for it?
it is an aesthetical choice. It's also, I mean, there is some sense of not continuing your roof insulation outboard. So trying to see some savings there in a sense. But it's about thinning the edge of the roof so that it doesn't feel so chunky. It makes it feel like it has a real hat to it then instead of a nice slim line. So that is definitely our motivation here, to keep this as thin as possible.
And so like Jeff and Stephen
And Penny?
and but Jeff and Stephen, how much is that gonna save us?
Well,
Yeah, I guess I don't have that broken down.
Okay.
because I also noticed somewhere I saw that you had 2 different roof types, metal roof types, and I'm assuming because that has to be a different kind of metal roof type than the one above. I never could understand that.
Oh, that they are the same system. Oh, so one has a standing seam and the lower does not have a standing seam. It's a flat seam. The same
Right.
metal roof without the seam detail. So it would come from the same manufacturer. The same subcontractor would install it. I don't think there would be, that is not an add cost in my mind.
Dominic, why did we choose standing seam metal as opposed to asphalt shingle?
Because of the superior attachment for the photovoltaic, that we're not having to introduce penetrations that you have to manage for waterproofing, so that the photovoltaic panels are actually being attached to the standing seam they're clipped on in a sense. They don't actually penetrate. They're clamped on, I should say. And that in our mind, it's a far superior kind of envelope condition than asphalt.
If you did a full asphalt shingle roof with a full ice and water shield underneath it,
Yeah.
that address your concerns about penetrating the roof? I mean, I understand if it's paper. I'm less
Yeah.
convinced if it's something that's self-sealing.
Yeah, understood. And to your point, it is something that is commonly done residentially to go through asphalt shingles. But in our office, we were just looking at minimizing penetrations. It's kind of like a no-no, you know, if you have an option.
I agree 100%. Drilling
Yep.
through your roof is not a good idea.
Yeah.
But I'm looking, there's probably $150,000 premium on the standing seam when compared to asphalt.
Yep. That-
100,000?
If I'm remembering correctly.
I'm not sure what the number is. I haven't kind of broken that down. Yeah.
As an alternate.
I don't know what the substitute would be. Yeah, it was about far superior, you know, attachment for photovoltaics. I think aesthetically as well, the standing seam roof, and maintenance. You know, again, life cycle of the building. I think a metal seam roof is going to hold up better than asphalt shingles. So you know, a handful of things there.
Yeah.
I'm looking to my, to give me some feedback on that.
I'm more comfortable with the standing seam.
I would prefer to see.
Okay,
I like the look of it better.
okay. All right, we're on the standing seam then.
Yeah, I mean, so if there's significant money to be saved by not having that detail,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
We will
that-
investigate it.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
Yeah.
The detail we'll
right.
look at.
This
Okay.
one. So basically, to your point,
Wait a minute, Jeff.
We see the other side of the building, since I didn't get you jumping out of your chair yet.
And I
oh,
thought
I
there-
should have. I'm sorry. What drawing? Do you want elevations?
Yeah, can we go to the entry? So
Elevation,
we
good.
still- Yeah, we still need to save some serious change here, guys. And I remember when we had the discussion about this entry and my takeaway was you guys were trying to convince us that this wasn't gonna cost a whole lot more because of this structural system and all this happy horseshit.
Mm.
So I'm sitting here looking, we're over budget and we got a way we need to maybe tone down this entry somehow.
What do you mean by tone down?
Well,
Give
I'll
me,
leave it up to the architects to figure that out.
no, what is there that, I'm not an architect, I'm not a,
Maybe we find another
builder.
way to deal with that roof.
rather than at the upslope and
going back to that upslope roof that so many people are saying, and Dale has his hand up.
You
Dale.
better believe I do. Yeah, well, see, the whole thing about the upturned roof is that originally, when I objected to it, it only was over the entrance vestibule, and now it's over the teen room as well. So the scope of that whole thing has doubled, which means the cricket and the interruptions and everything that I don't like about it has doubled. So you know, I'm on board as far as definitely scaling this thing down as a way of saving money. And also dealing with that insulation detail, which, you know, Stephen brought up at the last meeting, wasn't quite resolved over the teen room. So, I mean, there are a number of questions about, you know, how we should really be going in this area, as far as I can see.
So can somebody remind me, please, why we have an upturned roof at all?
Yeah, so there was a bunch of factors here that led to our decision to do this. We had a condition here between a low roof. I'm just pointing to this west elevation, which shows you that roof line. We had a separated low roof condition. This is over the staff workroom, and the upper roof, which was gabled. This was a flat condition, this low roof, and we were seeing complications in the detailing between the roof and this small gap between the lower roof and the upper roof. And we wanted to unite the two and simplify what we were doing, essentially really capturing the whole building footprint under one roof. So then moving to the east elevation, the intent here to control snow at the main entry point of the building is really the main motivator for why we had either a flat roof or an upturned roof. The upturned roof was our way of controlling snow at this condition, allowing for that to be handled to the left and the right. Again, we wanted to capture this move within that elevation, so it connects to this upper roof. It's not set down below. The way we had detailed it previously is we had a slate line of 1 or 2 courses that we saw really tough to detail and to have the installer complete that. So we wanted to get away with that. While, there's a bunch of things going on here, it's also a celebration of entry, right? It signifies to the public that this is the main entry. By upturning it, we better control the snow, and we also kind of incorporate the teens room into that move. By having it, on the staff room, it's pitched down. It's the same slope as the gable. If we did that here, we would still need a flat roof condition or an upturned roof condition. We looked at both, and having the teens room continue the slope of the gable didn't work. It didn't work for us here. So we like this upturned roof. We think it's a nice gesture to the public. We think it solves a lot of problems. Agreed that the insulation at the teens needs to be resolved. I've had offline conversations with Matt about how we're going to handle that. So we're going to actually, thicken the roof insulation condition over the teens room, and we have a solution that we're going to work through. So we don't feel that's an issue. I think it's primarily, I don't think there's a big add cost here. Structural engineers were not, indicating that this is overly complicated. I think the roofing detail, there's more to be considered here for sure. But again, it's something with a flat roof as well. We feel like that this, is a unified move. And a kind of nice reaching out to the public as an entry point. My sense is it's an aesthetic decision most, and that I can't argue. Our office, I guess, has a stance on that, and others may not agree.
Dale?
Yes, I'd just like to clarify that my position on this, it is not aesthetic.
Okay.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, my position is not aesthetic. It has to do basically by being forced to introduce the membrane roof. That's what I think is unfortunate, and because it for the reasons that I've already stated. And thus, I was looking, I thought that perhaps, maybe move the cover for the entry lower down on the wall, which creates all the problems that you first we're talking about when you mentioned why you brought it up above. And that's basically the reason why I haven't pushed this even harder, was because there are problems moving the cover to the entry further down on the wall below the roof. Because, you know, at that point, everything on the roof is dumping on that thing. So, you know, and the idea is that what really, and it's not just because of the membrane, but I'm really worried about ice and snow buildup there, and, you know, and that being an issue in the winter, with that being, you know, a more or less flat roof. And so that's really the concern. The overriding concern is that we don't have an ice and snow problem more than anything.
Mhm. I agree with you, and I appreciate that comment. I think it really spearheaded our consultation with you know, our roofing provider to own everything as part of that system and to own the warranty. The continuation of roof membrane into the metal roof, right? And so that really gave us the assurance. I think that was you know, a handful of meetings ago where we shared a detailed section of that whole condition, and we're hoping to alleviate the concern of exactly that, and that these guys would actually own 30 years of the whole system. Yeah.
So there are photovoltaic cells on the east side of the building.
Both sides.
Okay, so when the snow comes off of the panels on my house, it comes down pretty quickly, and it's dense when it comes down. My question is it gonna come down on that upturned roof?
Gonna be an ice cube.
And it's gonna be one big ice dam up
But then
there.
it's gonna slide, that roof is gonna have a cricket on top of it that's like this.
It'll just stay there.
And it's gonna slide down the two sides.
It won't.
No, slide it.
It'll just be an ice cube there all winter long.
But you're right,
Because I mean, it's gonna come,
There's
it's
coming
coming
snow.
down the building, and then it's gonna go to this upturned roof, and then
The
it's going to
slope,
be-
the slope of that cricket is probably 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch per foot. It's gonna be
Right.
pretty minimal. It's gonna be enough to shed water, but it will not shed snow.
So,
Snow's gonna be up.
Ice,
You're right.
it's gonna turn into an ice cube.
Good.
What it
That's
happens.
okay.
it's okay?
It's up there. It'll melt and it'll run down.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with how it looks. So, but is it a more expensive option? That, you know, I hadn't considered that it was a more expensive option.
Then what?
And, you know, like, I don't know how else the entrance could be that would end up costing less.
Well. I don't want to diplomatic.
You guys can work on this in your meetings.
So,
I don't think we can solve this tonight
no,
in this meeting.
but, don't the architects owe us a project that meets the budget? I'm asking the OPM,
Yes,
and right now we're over budget by a few $100,000.
yes.
So I think the architects have to come up with some better VE items than these to get us a couple $100,000 worth of savings, and I'm not seeing any place to get it other than that eve and these entrances.
All right, so can we look at the siding? Because we've got two kinds of siding. We've got the slate and then we've got these wood accents. And so, and the wood accents are to make it look pretty. And, and it does look pretty. But does it cost more to change materials? You know, and are you hiring a different subcontractor to put up the wood siding than you are for the slate siding? And if it were all one or the other, would it be less expensive?
Yes, but it isn't gonna be hundreds or thousands of dollars.
No, but we need, you know,
Things
$10,000
like
to $20,000 items. Or
You need,
$200,000 items,
you need big items.
right? So,
That's why I'm trying to find big.
Right.
items.
you're trying to find big items, okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we would see major savings there. To switch, you're talking about this wood
So,
Yeah.
at the entry and then these kind of elements
Yeah.
here.
so Mary Ann, right now, the slate siding is being carried at $34 a square foot. And the wood siding is at $40 a square foot.
Right,
Both have the same 2.5-inch furring over plywood with rigid insulation behind it.
yeah,
So we're talking not even $10,000.
right, right.
So,
Oh, how much is the pink noise, Dominic?
How much is the what, sorry?
The pink noise machine system,
Oh, it's a good question.
yeah, well, we can still get rid of it.
That's
I
gonna
don't
be
think
in
it's in
electric.
there.
Yeah, it
And
might under
If we
electrical
just
somewhere.
put acoustical panels, like those hideous things in the gym.
I know,
Um,
no, no, no.
no.
Okay.
No.
Dominic, I
All
don't think
right.
it's in there.
Yeah, let me double check that.
Neil, I wanna ask you, do you see, or can you think of anywhere that we're going to make some significant changes that would change this, price tag?
Excuse me, but do we not have a figure yet for, we haven't include what we're gonna say by eliminating the retaining wall around the parking lot and also that other parking lot space. I mean, we talked about that, but we don't have a
Well,
number,
that's true.
do we?
No, that's one of the VE items, Dale. $116,000,
Oh, that is, so we do have a number
$117,000.
for that. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you. Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Elaine, to your question, I don't see, again, I haven't had a lot of time to dig into this, but I don't see any silver bullets. I see a lot of little things that are adding up. I think that if we did something that wasn't acoustic drywall and did acoustic wall treatments, I think there's some money to be saved there. It's not a 1 foot for 1 foot swap. But we're carrying a pretty significant premium for the acoustic drywall. I'm trying to find it now. So perforated gypsum ceiling with insulation, we're $32 a square foot. For regular chipboard insulation ceiling, we're $15. So it's roughly double the cost of a normal gypsum ceiling. But if you take it out, then you've got to add something for acoustic treatment. So it's not a dollar for dollar savings.
You're saving another $5,000 or $10,000.
Right,
You know, again, you know, if we decide our charges, we gotta get the project back to budget, then we gotta do some amputation.
well, and I think what we
Or
have to
we
do,
have
all
to
right, and we
decide-
can't amputate the size of the building, Okay, so, because we've already done that. So,
Wait a minute. Although with that entrance change that they proposed to us, they made that room to the right bigger.
right, but how much bigger?
Well, not-
And it had been shrunk below.
6
what-
inches or something.
Right, yeah. So,
But again,
so there are a couple of things. So Neil hasn't had time to go through it all carefully. And then really look at the budget. And there are things, there is the well that wasn't in the budget. So what we really need to do is we need to, have Neil go through the budget, and then we need to know what are eligible costs and what are ineligible costs. Because that is, what our budget is. And so do we, and then I think there are, other small things like those granite benches. And so that was, another $20,000. So there are a lot of little picky things. And then, so we really need to have that full total project cost.
So we need
And-
more time right now.
Right, we need time for Neil to go through it, and come back.
And you guys to go, I mean, it sounds like you've got, yeah.
well, no, I think that-
And
We've only
for,
got it for
Dominic
5
to maybe go through it a little bit more, and maybe we have a meeting. I just checked, we can post a meeting for next Tuesday.
But
And-
I don't think you're gonna find enough little bitty things like the bench to
Right,
get this project back on budget.
I think, but we,
Or closer to budget.
but closer to budget,
So,
Yeah.
I guess part of my
Yeah.
question is, we have to be back on budget.
We have to try to get.
we have,
closer.
well, we have to be as close to budget as we can be. We have to know where we are before then, and then we can say where we are. I mean, we also just raised another $75,000.
But we don't wanna count on that. What we need to do, excuse me, is we do need to have a clearer bottom line. And I know, Jeff, you're saying that it's only $5,000 here, $5,000 for that, but if you keep doing $5,000, if you find 10 of them, that's 50,000. And we need about, what, 200,000?
Well, but here's the thing, we're sort of guessing at what we need.
We don't know.
Because we haven't done a thorough review of the cost estimate and the budget.
We haven't done a thorough review of that. We
Right.
also have not done a thorough review of what it's going to totally cost us after, the MBLC.
Right,
Yeah, because
Right.
we raised $75,000 and that's like $300,000.
right, but then we have to remember
I
that
think of that every day.
landscaping and paving are not eligible
Exactly.
costs.
So
So
that,
we need to know
We
total
need to
project
know.
costs and then what's eligible and what's not eligible, to know what our costs are.
exactly,
And then we need to know how much money we have,
right.
and then we need to know how close we are to on budget.
And we
So-
also need to know what of the landscaping is required of us.
That's right, yeah.
Yep.
Thing on the box.
So, right, so we can,
Well,
we
I
can
think-
look in
I
the
think it
NOI.
is all required. The question is, can we do some of it after the project is done and do it with volunteer
And donations
Right,
of trees, et cetera.
instead of having someone being paid prevailing wage?
Can we take out,
the
does
trees?
that need to be taken out ourselves?
Yes,
Okay,
we can do that beforehand.
I just took some trees. out.
yes. We can't, but our highway,
I mean,
Okay.
we
Yeah.
can take.
Okay, so let's get back to,
okay.
do you think, excuse me, I'm talking to the committee and Neil and Dominic, do you think that we would be able to get this together by next Tuesday night? To have this conversation?
There we go. I checked and I can post a meeting for Tuesday. So Neil, like, you could talk about the budget, we could talk
Can
about
you?
the budget.
Monday's a holiday?
Yeah, I'm right there. If the system will let me do it, I can do it.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
but is that enough time for everyone to do? it?
Right,
That's
is that
the
enough
question. Is
time
it
or does it
enough
need to be
time?
Wednesday?
Neil and Dominic, Roger,
I will give it as much time as I possibly can over the next 48 hours. That's all I can tell you. I'm disappointed that we didn't get it until tonight, but we'll do the best we can with the time we have. I think
I mean,
I think I heard one of the committee members say earlier that this is gonna be like death by paper cut, right? We're not gonna find $200,000 or $300,000 on one item. It's gonna be a little bit here and there throughout the
Yep.
whole estimate.
yeah,
That's my guess.
So, right, so I mean, like, I'm available, Thursday evening.
Yep.
That might make more sense considering that.
Dominic and Neil, are you available Thursday evening?
I'm not.
You're not,
I
okay,
mean, I'm going to city council in Northampton, but I could go virtually and then come to you guys virtually.
right, be in two
Thursday?
places at once, that's it. So Thursday would be what, the 4th or? Yeah.
I can be available.
Are you available, Neil? Are you available, Dominic?
I can be available, yes.
Yeah, I think I can do the 4th.
Okay, and that gives, Dominic, that gives you time to, maybe to sort of get us a price of what it would be to sort of cut out the concrete underneath those benches. You know,
Mhm.
or like the cost saving of removing all of that. I mean, we could do some of that work.
Mhm.
And,
Maybe the roof detail.
and then the roof detail,
Mhm.
maybe if you can calculate the cost savings.
And we need to probably, let's see, hold on.
I'd like to offer that
Yeah,
although I would like time to go through it all, I would like some suggestions from Dominic and his team as to how we shave another $250,000 out of the project. What we're really trying to make up for, Dominic, is there was $100,000 in well cost, round numbers. Maybe it's 80,000, maybe it's a little more. That number was really part of the construction in everyone's mind. And the fact that we're breaking it out and doing it separately and paying for all the engineering and design costs, it's about $100,000 of money that we had allocated in construction and now has to come from somewhere to be funded because it's not in the bid and it's not in your scope of services. Similarly, the money for the second round of test pits and everything else that we had to do, that was not a budgeted expense, nor was the 68,000 for schematic redesign. So I'm open to a lot of different decisions and a lot of different discussions, but I really think that you guys have to take the lead on that because I can make 1,000 suggestions and you're not gonna like any of them, but I guarantee you we'll be back on budget. And
I'm all ears, Neil.
right? I'm trying to be sensitive, but also direct.
Yeah,
Like-
no, I appreciate direct. Look, we're a team here, and I apologize that you didn't get the estimate earlier. Unfortunately, we had our meeting, as I said earlier today, with the
No,
cost
I
estimator.
understand. It's the holidays. It's
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
for everybody.
Right.
But
Right. But
somewhere.
this, as I understand it, we're about 140 short.
Plug it in over there.
Dominic, I think your math is off. And if you understand, if you start from the $6.3 million number, and then that's where we were at schematic design, and you've got to factor in the cost of the well, the cost of the redesign at schematic, and the cost of the ad services that we just got. And there's almost $200,000 in added cost to the project on those three items alone that are not factored into your numbers or the estimate that we have in front of us tonight. Those are real numbers, they're real costs, some of which has already been spent and has to be accounted for somewhere. So if we're holding the same $8.5 million budget, and it's not coming out of your fee, and it's not coming out of my fee, the only other place that is left is construction or contingency. And we can't afford to lower the contingency anymore. So the only place it can come out of is the building. That's all we got left. And I don't honestly know how we're gonna get there, but we will.
So
And-
to be clear, you're mentioning soft costs in there. The 6.2 that we had at SD redesign is not good anymore.
No, the 6.2 million construction cost at redesign is a real number.
Yeah.
But the $68,000 we paid to get there was not budgeted,
No, I understand what you're saying, but
right?
I'm still.
So there's about 100 grand for the well itself.
No, you've said, yeah, I understand. You're clear. I understand that. I'm working on construction numbers right now, trying to get to 6.2. I see construction at 140 over.
I'm looking
with VE, and
I
so
appreciate
just
that,
wanna be-
Dominic, but what
wanna
I'm
be
looking
clear
at
what-
is the total
You
budget
have to add the cost of the well to the
Yeah.
construction for
at
Dominic.
$8.5 million, the total project.
No, I understand. I haven't
Holding
been looking at
$8.5
that.
million and deducting everything else out of it. We're still in the range of $500,000 away from where we need to be.
That's why I asked the 6.2. That's my target right now.
Yep,
So if we can make 6.2, we're good.
no,
No,
that
it's got to include the 100,000 plus or minus for the well.
I think you're missing the point. Let me
but
reissue the budget based
didn't-
on where we are now.
No, I'm hearing you, but didn't we talk about the well before? Didn't we resolve the well issue and the fact that you thought we had it and we thought you had it?
Yeah, but we did not resolve it, Dominic, because it still adds to the total project. It still adds to the construction cost. And so it's not in the estimate, but we still have to pay for it. And it's still a construction expense.
Got
So, and then the additional testing for the test pits, for the perk testing is an additional cost that is part of the construction costs. So you have to add those.
That's why I ask, is the 6.2 good? It's not.
Those have to be part of your 6.2.
So I need all those numbers. I don't have those numbers. Right, Neil.
I'll share them.
109.
Like I
You're-
said,
you-
let me go through the numbers as I see them.
Yep.
I'll share them with you, Dominic, and
Yep.
we can talk about it at some point tomorrow. And I'll show you where I think we're off and how and where we need to get to in order to be there.
Sure. Yeah, please. That sounds good.
So we're meeting next Thursday.
So we'll meet next Thursday.
So I think we need to get Andrea in on this also. Yeah,
Yeah, but she's on vacation.
until,
So-
is she around next Thursday?
She's back next week. I
Okay,
don't know if she's available next Thursday.
okay,
But, okay,
yeah, let her know
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
okay, yeah.
And we'll make it, Dale, can you meet next Thursday?
Yep, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, and everybody around the table here can do Thursday,
7
7 o'clock.
Okay,
We're meeting here.
I think it's helpful for us to be
I
here,
agree.
okay,
But also hybrid.
yeah,
also hybrid, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah, okay. Okay.
all right. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Oh, God. All right,
Okay,
it is
let's
fun,
move
actually.
on to,
All right,
well, we know what our next steps are. In the schedule, let's discuss the pre-qualification of contractors, the process and the pricing, Neil.
Yep. So,
Do we want to let Dominic go?
we can do that.
We can, Dominic, if you're,
Enjoy the holiday.
enjoy your holiday, right?
I got some work to do.
I think so.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks a
See you
lot. Let
next
me
week.
know if you have any other questions before next Thursday. Feel free.
Sure,
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
okay. Bye. We need to make sure that we get these new numbers before 5 o'clock next Thursday, so that we can all not be so surprised by them.
Yeah.
Why is that not working?
I don't know. Maybe I
Okay,
need a new.
So pre-qualification.
yep,
Pre-qualification is a way of pre-vetting general contractors and trade subcontractors on public projects in Massachusetts. It is an RFQ process, if you will, that has to be advertised. We will solicit general contractors per my original discussion with the town, and ask general contractors to submit their qualifications in advance. We will review the qualifications based on set parameters and rank the pre-qualifications RFQs that come in. And then if the contractors meet the minimum requirements that are required by statute, then they will be invited to attend and submit bids on the project. It does not obligate them to submit bids on the project, but any contractor that fails to be pre-qualified would be precluded from participating in the project. So in some ways, you will limit the number of general bidders that you have at your table, if you will, when we receive bids. For any project in Massachusetts where the construction value is above $10 million, this process is a requirement. It must be done. There is an obligation for a representative from the owner, in addition to the OPM and the architect, to participate in the ranking and scoring and evaluations of the RFQs. And like I said, the scoring is divided into 3 main categories. There's the main part of the proposal is based on their management structure. There are additional points allowed for references. And the third category is their financial capacity to complete the project. When we were engaged by the town, we included the pre-qualification of general contractors as an ad alternate to our scope of services. So this is a pretty labor intensive requirement. It takes a lot of time. I would expect, under normal bidding circumstances, if we were to advertise this winter, we will probably see somewhere between 10 and 15 RFQs from general contractors that might be interested in bidding the project. And it will take us a substantial amount of time to go through those proposals, evaluate them, chase down references, and then return our evaluations to the town. So all of that said, I believe, if I recall, I believe our fee for that service was $15,000. And
How does that benefit this project? Does it speed things up when we get to the point of, receiving bids?
To some degree, yes. It would be. So the requirement for, the difference in the requirement for us is that we would have to chase all the references and do all the evaluations based on general contractors that submitted bids after the bids were received. So that would be more work that we would have to do at a later point in time. At that point, once we receive the bids, we would likely only do that level of research on the top 3 bidders. We would not do it on all of the bids that we received.
Dale, you
a
have your hand
question?
up?
Yes, I don't think this can be overstated that we need all the help we can get with contractors. There are so many bummers out there, bad stories. We need to pre-qualify everybody, and because believe me, references do not tell you the story. You cannot rely on references. So it's got to be deeper. And I like the idea of, of being only able to send out the bid packages to people that you know who they are, because again, it can really be bad, and that's, once we get the budget and everything established, that's really our biggest issue, and that's one of the great things about having Roger and Neil on the job, and Roger there every day as our more or less the best protection we're going to have, from having to deal with that sort of thing, poor work.
So Dale, just to interject, and our proposal is to pre-qualify general contractors only. If we were to do all of the sub-trades in addition, it would more than double the cost as well as the level of effort needed. The number of proposals that we would receive would probably, we just pre-qualified the job and we got 108 responses to the RFQ. That was for a $20 million DPW project. So if what we had talked about when they hired us was pre-qualing general contractors only, not sub-trades.
Yeah, I understand that, because the generals bring in the subs. I mean, you can't control the subs. You can control the generals.
So we're not required to do this because our project is under $10 million?
We are not required to do this by statute. That is correct.
But it saves us,
$15,000.
but it saves us time afterwards.
I don't think I mean, a little bit, but if the amount of work you're doing before is so much more than the work we do afterwards.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of work now in order to save a more focused investigation on a fewer number of contractors later.
Is this something you recommend? Yes.
So from a statistical standpoint, let's say that we got 100 responses. I would say fewer than 10 would not be qualified. So we're dealing with a relatively small number of contractors that would not submit qualifications that would meet minimum requirements for whatever reason, whether it's bad references, poor financials, not a lot of public experience. I mean, the list is in it could be any one of 100 different factors. But the reality of it is that the bar for pre-qualification within the Commonwealth is pretty low, and any DCAM contractor who maintains DCAM certification and can bond the job, essentially is 70% there to pre-qual. So do I, in other words, do I think it's worth the time and effort? Not necessarily, but it's not really my decision to make. If you
Right.
want us to do it, and it is the committee's wish, we will go through the process and we will do the committee's work. That's what you pay us for.
one of the benefits, I guess, I do see from the pre-qual exercises, you make the contractor world aware the project's coming.
Yes,
If we didn't do it, are you feeling comfortable that there would be enough bidders? This, when we do go out?
I mean, that
Um,
depends on the timing.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
bidding, putting, yes, Jeff, I agree. Putting it out there ahead of time gives contractors the heads up that it's coming, and it helps them to plan it into their schedule, but it does not guarantee that they're not going to aggressively pursue work between now and April, when they come out, and if they fill their dance card, they're not coming to at our invitation anyway.
Right.
Right? So, yes,
It's not a guarantee.
there is some benefit to it. Yes, you kind of get on their radar, you get on their planning schedule, and they can target it. But if something changes between now and then, there's no guarantees.
Right, because if they get another job, it's the bird in the hand idea
sure.
that they'll take it, yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
They're not gonna sit and wait for us.
You know, the other thing is, you know, this is not a super complex build. And I'm a little concerned that we're gonna get Mo, Larry, and Curly as contractors. Because it's a little bit more than building a big house. So I guess I would feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that we did some pre-qualifications to try to get rid of the low-hanging guys that aren't, the folks that aren't gonna be that good.
But wouldn't Mo, Curly, and Larry qualify?
Well, they may or they may not, you never know.
But you would vet them, we would vet them before offering them a job.
No,
Whether we go through this process or not.
yeah, but like Neil said, the process to get DCAM certified is not that friggin' tough.
Yeah, so I'm
But
not.
you
really-
only said, Neil, you only said that 10, maybe 10 out of 100 would not get through the pre-qualification.
Statistically speaking, yes, we see roughly 10% for one reason or another for contractors, and that's historical based on a number of jobs over several years. Obviously, not knowing the bid or the pool of qualified bidders, you know, for a contractor that does a lot of $5 million in work. You know, if they do a lot of $5 million contracts, there aren't a lot of $5 million contracts that require pre-qualification. So they might say, nah, we're not interested. We'll wait for the bid to come out. And they won't realize that if they don't pre-qualify, they can't bid. So like I said in my opening remarks, it will limit your bidding pool, which is somewhat counterintuitive. You'll get a better group of contractors conceivably, that would be eligible, but there will probably be fewer of them.
I mean, there's
What?
no clear answer, no.
There's no
That's-
clear answer, except that it's gonna cost somewhere around $15,000 to do the pre-qualifying, right?
That's no, that's 3 or 4 reclaimed granite benches.
And of the $15,000, how much are we paying versus the common?
They pay 75%, so that's,
So are
The,
we
that's a
talking
qualifying expense.
yeah,
$4,000?
right, right, but
But
it still does
it's
add to the
time.
total project cost.
Yes, it does.
Right, and it does, so it potentially weeds out some stooges. And it potentially weeds out some, a contractor who could do the job, but doesn't generally do, you know.
Or doesn't
Right.
notice that that they have to be pre-qualified in order to get the job, and so they pass
Because
on
they don't,
pre-qualifying, and so,
Right.
because they don't look at that,
right,
because it's such a small building.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the benefit is the getting the word out, but I don't think that's enough for us to take the time and the money to do it. Because we're gonna do it afterwards with the top three bidders anyway.
Mhm. And by the top three bidders, do you mean
Lowest bidders.
the bottom three bidders?
The lowest, not.
Right, right, okay, right,
The
okay.
value engineered. one.
So we're gonna, and then if, so we're gonna qualify them at that point anyway.
But it's harder to turn down a bid at that point. Once your low bid comes in, I mean, the law states that you've got to take that bid unless you've got darn good reasons that you have to turn that down. And this is what Neil's helping us out with. I
And
mean,
that,
I don't think you know the position that we can get in. We can get into a bad position here. Do not discount this.
Okay, so does that mean that we'd have to take the bid even if they would not have pre-qualified?
As long as they are as long as they are qualified.
So pre-qualification is is stricter than qualification? Is that what you're saying, Neil?
what I'm saying is you do have the ability to focus on certain elements of a contractor's past in order to evaluate their RFQ. We can, I'm trying to, so the point categories for each of the three main areas, the management experience, the references, and the capacity to perform. Those three categories are statutorily defined at 50 points, 30 points, and 20 points respectively. How you evaluate those criteria, the point structure can be adjusted within the categories. For example, references are worth 30 points. You can ask for contractors that have only built public libraries in Massachusetts. And you can grade their performance and their references based on their library work only. What that means is that anybody that hasn't built a library will not qualify. So you will greatly reduce your bidding pool.
And that's in the pre-qualification.
That would be in pre-qualification. You could not make that assertion on a general bid that you just put out to the public and solicit pricing.
On a general bid, can you say that somebody has to have built a public building?
Presumably, a contractor that has established DCAM certification has demonstrated the ability to complete public work.
So the answer to the question.
No, okay.
So how many people are there, how many contractors are there that have built libraries of our size? There aren't very many.
Here.
Around
But you're not gonna get a Boston contractor
Yeah,
to come out here for this.
No.
I would suggest that if we were looking for for this project, and I say this project, this is not a particularly complex building. It is not all that dissimilar from a town hall or, something along those lines in terms of construction. It is far simpler than a public safety building. So I think if you use the analogy for a public library or similar public use building valued at $6 million, between $4 and $6 million, I would think you're pretty much encompassing the experience level that you're trying to capture.
Mhm.
I'm kind of thinking out loud and writing the RFQ in my head as we're talking.
If we don't pre-qualify, and then when you're doing your review of the three lowest, there's a term for these three lowest bidders, competent bidders or whatever they call
Yep.
it. You will also, during that review, you have to, we have to investigate whether they can financially handle the project, correct?
So their financial obligation under a normal general bidding process is to provide a bid security and subsequently a performance and payment bond for the project.
But their DCAM certification states their dollar limit, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So they would have to, in the bid documents, don't they have to provide information on where they stand in terms of the dollar limit?
They have to provide a certificate of eligibility from DCAM that specifies both their single project limit and their
Right.
aggregate project limit. And they have to provide a DCAM update statement by statute that highlights any work that they have presently under contract that essentially certifies that they have the financial capacity and the bonding commitment to finish the project.
Which, and those items were kind of part of what you were gonna investigate in the pre-qualification phase.
That is
So-
correct. They have to provide the same documentation in their pre-qual.
So in a sense, we're kind of covered with that aspect of it.
I've been talking to them.
You've been talked into what?
The, it's- I understand the sense of doing that. But I didn't.
Of doing the pre-qualification? All right, do I hear a motion? We're going around and round about this. Do I hear a motion on whether to do the pre-qualification or not?
We have to decide this tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my question.
Do we have to decide this tonight, Neil? Can we decide this next Thursday?
Yes, that's fine. What I wanted to do, Mary Ann, more than anything else, was to get the discussion out to the committee, to get people thinking about it. The process itself will typically take about, on a project of this size, if we're only doing GCs, I think we could probably do it in about 6 to 8 weeks. So if we're going out to bid at the end of March, we would want to be, preferably, we would want to be advertised and an RFQ on the street no later than the 1st of February. So if you told me next week we definitely wanted to get started, I would tell you that we should put an ad in the Central Register immediately. I'll have an RFQ over to you for your review within 48 hours. And we will put that out on the street through normal public advertisement and bidding requirements the following week. The minimum requirement is 2 weeks by statute. We would always go an extra third week. So by the second or third week in February, we would have responses back to us. And we would begin the evaluation process. And then we would have 6 weeks till the end of March in order to do it.
And it would be evaluated by somebody from your firm,
Yes,
somebody, one of our architects and one of us, one of you.
Ross.
One of you.
Ross.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Question, Neil, is this a chapter 149 or chapter 30 requirement?
149.
149, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Like the rest of us know what
What
you're
does that
saying.
mean?
Mass General Law.
Chapter 149 is the chapter of Mass General Law that deals with building construction.
Chapter 30 deals with procurement. Procurement.
Okay.
Okay. Do I hear a motion? So what would the motion be to?
The motion would be to,
What will we know next week that we don't know now?
I'm just gonna say, what do we know next week that we don't know now?
My brain is shut down and I.
All right, all right,
Okay, yeah,
I do not
okay.
hear a motion then. So
So we'll decide next week.
we are gonna just have that decision next Thursday, okay?
It'll be a quicker conversation.
It'll be a
Yes.
quicker conversation, but I will put that on the agenda for next
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay.
Would
All
it-
right,
Would it, I will offer, without going through the effort of redoing an RFP, I would be, or an RFQ. I'd be happy to send you an RFQ from another project that we've done. Just
that'd be
so,
great.
just so you can review it and have a better understanding of the process. And
Okay.
and how the points are structured, or what we would recommend the points to be. And then at least you're making maybe a little bit better informed decision.
Okay,
That
Yes.
sounds great.
Yeah,
thank you.
get that right out.
Okay,
That'd be great.
I'll send
Thank
that, I'll send that to Mary Ann and she can forward it to the committee.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
Okay,
thanks. Neil.
okay, on to Fuss and O'Neill task amendment for additional perk test.
Right, so I sent that to everybody.
Mhm.
So that was one of those costs, Neil brought it up 600 or 700 times tonight. So,
Pounding it into Dominic's head.
and so
You think I made my point?
I don't know, I don't know, I think he was trying not to hear it.
Um,
He didn't get it.
thank you though, thanks for
Um,
your effort.
so it was $9,000.
Mhm.
And it was for the additional perk testing. Okay, so here's my question. If Dominic had come to us and said, we want to do additional perk testing on the south end of the building, and it's gonna cost $9,000, would we have done it? Yes.
I would have said, how much longer is it gonna be before the site plan is done?
Right.
But I
but
think
then-
if we had had the option to move the septic to the back instead of the front, we would have.
We
Right.
would have tried,
We would have tried,
you would have been
Right.
overrun.
I would have lost, I would
Yeah.
have said no.
yeah. That's, you know,
Is that because you thought it wouldn't perk or because of the time?
The time and not feeling confident that it would work.
see, and I thought it would perk, but because we had a perk back there, but the perk we had was actually underneath the building. So so I was really surprised that it didn't perk, and in fact, they were surprised that it didn't perk when they first started digging. So so like my experience was I thought we'd get a really good perk back there because we had a good perk back there. And I thought it would be better to put the leach field back there. So I think we all probably, or most of us, except for Penny, and everybody except Penny would have said.
We're gonna put that in there verbatim.
Everybody but Penny.
Vote it down.
Okay,
So I
So-
think we have no choice but to
yeah,
pay for it.
I agree.
Okay.
But it is annoying that we weren't asked in advance.
I agree that it
It's
was annoying.
annoying that we
It's
were
not,
not
it's
asked.
not annoying, it's bad business.
I agree. If you put all of
It
those
is
things in the minutes, I would-
inconsiderate
It was.
Of our contract with them and our faith in what they're doing.
In
I mean-
both Boston O'Neill and Odinzello.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
So,
this is,
Yeah.
you can't keep bringing up $9,000 costs.
Yeah. Yes.
Which worries me that,
And I understood from my conversation with you that there would be no additional charge for this.
So I don't remember that conversation, but they didn't say there would be an additional charge, so I don't think there'd be an additional charge.
That's
But
what I'm.
that's just, and that is just me, I'm always an optimistic thinker, right?
I'm
I mean, I thought they had the well included in their proposal, and so it wasn't covered, I mean, they did have to come out, remember they came out 3 times to do, because they came out twice to just get the original perk
Right.
done.
Because
Um,
the equipment broke, right?
Partly because yes, because the equipment broke.
Yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't covered in Fuss and O'Neill's contract, and Fuss and O'Neill, one thing I do know is that Fuss and O'Neill does not work for free. So,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna make a motion that we agree to cover that additional $9,000 cost.
What is our alternative?
I second it. Sure. Additional, discussion? Antonellis,
And no, I,
Down the side.
Poole,
Pool eye.
Jakes,
Abstain.
Moss,
Aye.
Quackenbush, Paleo, I.
well, that'll make Dominic happy.
What?
That'll make Dominic happy.
Well, we don't care about making Dominic happy. Dominic is not making us happy.
He's not, he's not. He wasn't happy at the end of the meeting.
Well, he better not be.
Okay,
He better be as uncomfortable as Neil tried to make him,
okay.
because he's working for us and he's not doing what we're asking.
How
And-
long before we get to?
What?
All right, so we have to just go on to, liaison report from the Conservation Commission.
Yes.
Okay, so the notice of intent was submitted today. We are on the agenda for January 11th at 7 PM. Be there.
Yes, ma'am.
Tune in and just look.
January 11th at 7 PM.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a huge document,
It's over 200 pages.
and we, it's very thorough,
And I'm holding my breath.
yeah.
Thank you.
They
We're
usually
getting
start
it.
at 6.
Yeah, this is 7. It is 7,
We are,
yeah,
we
yeah.
are on on the agenda for 7 PM.
Okay.
You said that was the 11th?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, virtual, I hope.
And it's on Zoom.
You say that was on Zoom?
Yes, yes, and the Conservation Commission,
Yep.
yeah.
So, Mary Ann, if I may, the $88,000, that's for the drilling of the well, right?
No, so the drilling of the well, so I only got one quote for drilling of a well, and it was like $12,000. So $70,000 is Fuss and O'Neill for the engineering
Yeah,
and the public water supply testing.
okay,
And then I haven't gone out looking for well, and I haven't, I'm still waiting. Matt Cassane and I have been playing phone tag, and then dancing around these holidays. Thank God they're almost over.
Yeah.
I do know that they've come out and they've done some surveying, or at least they were supposed to come out and do some surveying, for the well. So I haven't,
so the
talked to well drillers again.
the 80 plus $1,000 number that you shared with me before, I think it was 88,000. That's the cost of the well design plus a budgeted expense for the actual drilling. Is that right?
Well, so I would say 82. Yeah. So 70,000 for Fuss and O'Neill, and then 12,000 for the well driller. That's the one proposal I got was $12,000.
Okay. And then there was another $9,000 for the perk
That's right.
and $68,000 for the schematic redesign.
Yeah, but I think you might have put that in your budget, so
Oh,
you
no,
should check.
I was looking at my budget during the meeting. It wasn't there.
Okay, yeah,
So I
okay.
just, and there's nothing else that you're aware of. I have the pre-qual budgeted as a line item, and it's in the budget now. And it just
Okay.
says to be determined. So I've kind of
Okay.
got that set aside.
Right. And then we did, like, the geotech was covered, because that was already in your budget.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's it. And then so we've lost how many months now? And then that's gonna add to the cost.
And potentially reduce the contractor for.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
let me rerun some numbers. And then
Okay.
I will send out a budget to you and to Dominic and Matt and sort of restate the obvious.
Okay.
Is
You're gonna
it,
have a conversation with Dominic tomorrow?
yeah, if he'll talk to me.
Yeah,
Am I correct in assuming that if I go back to the budget that we presented at schematic design, that is the overall total project number that we are trying to hold? Is that right?
Yes,
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 Okay. Okay,
okay.
then I will do it.
Thank you, Neil.
thank you.
Just so I'm clear, Mary Ann, the RFQ that I'll send you is for the Hudson DPW project. And
Right, and it's just an example.
the
Yeah.
format will be very, very similar, if not identical. But you'll
Okay.
get I'll take out the preamble and all the other stuff, and I'll just send you the meat of the RFQ, which explains the categories, how the points are broken down, and how they'll be evaluated. Okay,
Yep,
all right.
great.
Thank
Anything-
you.
Anything else you need from me tonight?
Nope.
No,
No, thank you.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Good night,
I move.
Roger and
Night,
Neil.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Motion to adjourn.
Good night.
Have a good new year. I second that motion.
Antonellis, aye.
Excellent.
Antonellis already said aye.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool eye.
Jakes,
I.
Vallejo, aye.
All right.
Molly left. the
Molly
meeting
left the building.
At
All right,
9:45, and Brad left at 8:00.
Oh my God.
okay. Good night, Dale. Good night,
Good night,
Roger.
everyone.
Okay.
Good night.
And good night.
End the meeting.
Okay.